All right, so we learned about the importance of bid optimization. We're gonna get a little bit deeper now. What are we going to be talking about in this video?
A few different things. One, there's a difference in bidding strategy in an auto campaign versus a manual campaign. We're going to chat about those differences. The second thing we're going to talk about is the different opportunities that Amazon gives you, whether it's fixed bidding or dynamic bidding. The last thing is we're going to have placements that are also going to come into play. So how do you utilize all of these? How do you understand when is a CPC bid versus a view CPM bid, and then how to influence the other levers that are coming into play?
All right, let's go ahead and hop into the ad console and see this stuff in action.
All right, so let's talk bid optimization. Now, we're just going through an overview in this module because there's a lot of different things that make this really complex. And then we're going to go through ad console and show some live examples once we understand the math that goes into bid optimization. So, as we've discussed, when it comes to Amazon advertising, you are pretty much bidding on real estate. So again, put yourself in the shoes of your customer, the top of the page, everyone's going to be bidding on it. It's going to be your most expensive. So when you have a high search volume keyword like vitamin C and the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 placements on the page, it's really, really competitive because that's where you're going to get the most visibility. It's a really high traffic billboard. Now, if I typed in and wanted to bid on vitamin C for children under 3, I can assume that not as many people are making that search. Not as many people are thinking to bid on that term, so it's going to be a little bit less competitive. On the flip side, if you're running an ad on page 3 or page 4, or maybe looking at the ads on the product detail page, those can be quite a bit cheaper because they're not getting near as much traffic as the top of page 1. I know that this has been a little repetitive, but it's really, really important to understand these dynamics in order to properly optimize your bids. It's also really important to understand because you're going to learn the formula and you're going to be like, well, if I just lower my bids, everything's going to be fine and dandy. Or you're going to be using a software and wondering why it's not working. And that's because it can be really difficult to find that pivotal point of lowering your bids for profitability, but still maximizing your sales. Which is a lot of what we're talking about today. Now, Amazon advertising bid management is really just math, and we're going to walk through the basics of what that looks like. So as you can see here, let's say I'm wanting to advertise this product. We chose simple math for just the opportunity to start understanding. You can see here that if I have a 50-cent bid, my ACoS is 12%. If I have a $3 bid, my ACoS is 75%. Now that's assuming our conversion rate stays the same. It's assuming that, we're only advertising a $20 product. And it's pretty quick math. You can say, hey, if I bid $3 and I get 20 clicks, that means I spent $60. And if I have a 20% conversion rate, that means that I have $80 in sales. Right? So if I spent $60 and I drove $80 in sales, you can pretty quickly see that's a 75% ACoS. But if I lower my bid to 50 cents and I have the same conversion rate, I have a 12% ACoS. That's really the basics of how bid management works. You lower your bid, you can be a little bit more profitable because you're not spending as much. You increase your bid, you lose some of that profitability because you're spending more, right? Now we're going to use a few more examples of this because I know that this is still going to be very complicated for people that are listening in. But the real value of understanding is your bid depends or directly correlates with your ACoS at the end of the day. The part that can be difficult for people to understand is once you lower your bid, you're not getting as many sales. You can be on page 2 or page 3 or page 4 and not get a lot of visibility. If you bid much higher, you're going to drive maximum amount of sales. So there's a pivotal point that you're going to have to find for your own brand of where can I maximize my bid and be profitable while still driving sales. Now, when you start creating your bids and you log into Campaign Manager, you're not just going to see what is called CPCs. CPCs is your cost per click. Now, the majority of your campaigns are going to be CPCs, which means you only pay when someone clicks on your ad. You pay each time someone clicks. This is focused on driving traffic to your product pages, and it's very effective when you're trying to directly increase sales. Some of these campaigns, you're going to see a view CPM model, which means you get charged for 1,000 viewable impressions. When someone looks at your ad 1,000 times, you get charged. CPCs are the primary focus with Amazon advertising, so it's really valuable because, again, people don't click on ads unless they're interested. Cost per viewable impressions is being rolled out throughout different ad types as Amazon tests this. Now, the majority of advertising outside of Amazon is a CPM model. Every time someone views your ad and looks at it, you get charged. So it's just important to understand the differences in those two models, in those bid types. Now, taking things a step further, we also have campaign bidding strategy. So we've talked about the basics of bid management. Here's some other things that you're going to see within Ad Console. You're going to see fixed bids, dynamic bids, up and down, and then placement modifiers. So at the end of the day, it's really your personal preference. But let's say, again, I set a $3 bid. I know what I want my ACoS to be. If you apply any of these other bidding strategies, it kind of adjusts what that bid is. If I say fixed bids, that's exactly what it is. I'm fixing my bid for good. I want a $3 bid. I don't want a lot of movement. If I say dynamic bids, down only, Amazon's going to lower my bid. If they don't think a customer is likely to purchase your product, they're going to lower your bid. It can be really beneficial. Dynamic bids up and down. Amazon's also going to increase your bid if they think someone's likely to purchase. Placement modifiers. We're going to see a section on that. We're going to be able to update our bids for top of search or rest of search or product detail pages. That can also be really, really powerful. My personal preference is if I'm using a software or if I have my own formula, I like using fixed bids. It makes the math much easier. When you use a placement modifier, you're allowing Amazon to take your base bid and increase or decrease based on placement or based on dynamic bidding. It can make it really difficult to figure out the math behind your bid. So for this video, I recommend starting with fixed bids. It's the easiest way to start optimizing your bids later on. Now, placement modifiers, again, are a little bit tricky. I'm showing a screenshot here. This will be more of a discussion in the advanced section. Amazon's going to allow you to adjust your bids, not only on everything we've talked about, but again, on that top of search, rest of search, and those product pages. The biggest thing I can recommend is to make data-based decisions. Using this example below, we can see rest of search, 15%, product pages, 44%. I have data showing that rest of search is better than product pages. Maybe it would be worth increasing my bid on rest of search, right? Other than that, one thing to note is your placement modifiers apply to the whole campaign. So again, you're telling Amazon you can increase your bids on every single keyword within that campaign. That can get really messy really fast if you don't have a lot of control, so we don't always recommend running that strategy. Now, after diving into all of this, you can see how complicated bid management can get. At the end of the day, lower bids, lower sales, but cheaper placements. Higher bids, more sales and more visibility, but less profitable. Finding the perfect solution just for your brand, not always the easiest. This is why we've built out the templates that we have within Helium 10 Ads. We broke it down into kind of the situations we see most frequently. Focusing on profit. Profit shield, maximizing profitability. We're going to focus on lowering your bids so that way you can hit your ACoS and ROAS targets. On the flip side, we have people that come to us say they want to maximize sales. That's their core focus. With maximized sales, we're going to be increasing bids, still within your ACoS and ROAS targets, but being a little bit more aggressive around conversion rate and placements. The last one, when you're launching your product, you really need to maximize data in order to make better decisions. So if you're launching, we have our own algorithm for that of like, let's put your product in front of a ton of keywords, in front of a ton of different ASINs, so we can collect data as quickly as possible, which is going to allow us to then use that data to drive more sales, and driving more sales, collecting more reviews, improving your organic rank. So if all of this has been incredibly overwhelming, highly, highly recommend leaning on our bid templates first and then starting to teach yourself how to optimize your bids beyond that if needed. If not, the templates are going to do the trick no matter what stage of business you're in. You can then layer in your own rules as you really start to understand bid management a little bit further.
All right. So hopefully now you're prepared to understand which type of bid optimization strategy is good for you. And now you're ready to actually implement your bid optimization strategy. That sounds funny when I say that, but there you have it. Let's go ahead and hop into the next module. And hopefully Destiny will make it a little bit more clear than I just stated it.